Welcome to day 82 of Through the Bible in 1 year. In today's Bible study video, we're going to be covering Judges 13, Judges 14 and Judges 15. And we're going to be covering one of the most popular names from the Bible in today's Bible study walkthrough. So if you want to know every single time we add to our Judges study, make sure you subscribe, because we've got a whole playlist as we continue to work through the book of Judges. And obviously any other videos and Bible questions that you probably want answers to and stuff like that, make sure you subscribe, because we've got loads of videos on the channel already, and we update our channel pretty much every single week, sometimes multiple times a week. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel. So in this video, what we're going to be talking about, as I already mentioned, is one of the most popular Bible names from the Bible, which is Samson. So let's get into it, starting at Judges 13. And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord delivered them into the hand of the Philistines 40 years. And there was a certain man of Zorah, of the family of the Danites, whose name Manoah, and his wife barren, and bare not. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto the woman, and said unto her, Behold, now thou barren, and bearest not, but thou shalt conceive and bear a son. So just a couple of things before we keep going. So the first thing we read about in today's text is a constant theme that I've kind of brought up over and over again as we've worked through the book of Judges. There's a constant theme of the Israelites are obedient to God. Okay, God blesses them ultimately. Then the Israelites become disobedient. They start disobeying God. They start idol worshipping. They start doing things that they're not supposed to do, and then they get punished ultimately. Okay, and that's the theme we've seen through Judges. And ultimately, they turn around and repent. Okay, so in this particular scenario, they started to do wrong in the sight of the Lord. The Lord delivered them over to the Philistines, and in this particular situation, they were captive. Okay, 40 years. Now, what the scripture also tells us is there's a man, okay, called Manoah, and he's married to a woman who is barren. So she's not been able to have any children. And the last part we covered here is where it says an angel visited the woman and said, the Lord's going to visit you, you're going to have a son. Okay. Now, this shouldn't be something completely new to you, especially if you've been following along with us. We had a similar scenario like this, very similar, in the book of Genesis, okay, with Abraham, Sarah, and Isaac, okay. So let's keep going. Verse 4. Now therefore, beware, I pray thee, and drink not wine, nor strong drink, and eat not any unclean. For lo, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come on his head. For the child shall be a Nazarite unto God from the womb, and he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of the Philistines. So a couple of things. I'm not going to touch on everything, but ultimately, the angel is basically telling the woman here, look, the reason why I don't want you to do any of these things, drink strong drink, eat any unclean, etc., and no razor should come on his head, because the angel is saying to the woman, this son you're going to have is going to be under what was known as a Nazarite vow. Okay. Now, we talked about this when we went through the book of Numbers. That's where it comes up in Numbers 6. I'm going to be doing another video pretty soon about Samson's Nazarite vow. So make sure you subscribe to the channel as well, just so you can get updated when that video comes out as well, because it's really insightful. Okay. But the whole Nazarite vow, for those of you who think, what's a Nazarite? Go back and read Number 6. It will give you the full context of what it is, okay, and what the procedures are. 6. Then the woman came and told her husband, saying, A man of God came unto me, and his countenance like the countenance of an angel of God, very terrible. But I asked him not whence he, neither told he me his name. But he said unto me, Behold, thou shalt conceive and bear a son. And now drink no wine, nor strong drink, neither eat any unclean, For the child shall be a Nazarite to God from the womb to the day of his death. So, one thing I will say, which this piece of text is giving us even more context, is the whole Nazarite vow wasn't necessarily always essentially from birth to death. Okay, it could be a period of time. Okay, and I don't want to get into too much detail right now because this is a Judges study, not a Nazarite study or a Numbers 6 study. Okay, but what I am going to say is make sure you go back and watch Numbers 6. But again, make sure you subscribe, because when I do the video about Samson and his Nazarite vow, it's going to give us context, or even more context about the whole situation. But look what his mum said. His mum said that he was supposed to be a Nazarite to God from the womb. So from conception, from when he's in the womb, up until his death. Okay, so that's a really good, valuable piece of insight and information here. Verse 8. Then Manoah, the husband, entreated the Lord and said, O my Lord, let the man of God which thou didst send come again unto us, and teach us what we shall do unto the child that shall be born. So he's basically saying, God, please send the man again so he can basically tell us what we're supposed to do. 9. And God hearkened to the voice of Manoah, so he listened to him. And the angel of God came again unto the woman as she sat in the field, but Manoah her husband not with her. And the woman made haste and ran and shewed her husband and said unto him, Behold, the man hath appeared unto me that came unto me the day. So she's sitting in the field. The same angel appears again to her, based on Manoah's pleading God, saying, look, send him again. She sees him, runs back to her husband, says, look, the guy from that day is here, come back. Okay. 11. And Manoah arose and went after his wife, and came to the man, and said unto him, Thou the man that spakest unto the woman? And he said, I. So Manoah's verifying, are you the man that spoke to her and said, you're going to have a son, he's going to be a Nazarite, no razor should come on his head, don't drink wine or strong drink, and etc. Okay. And the angel says, he is. 12. And Manoah said, Now let thy words come to pass. How shall we order the child? So what shall we do? And shall we do unto him? 13. And the angel of the Lord said unto Manoah, Of all that I said unto the woman, let her beware. So he's basically, everything I said to her, that's what she has to do. 14. She may not eat any that cometh of the vine, neither let her drink wine or strong drink, nor eat any unclean. All that I commanded her, let her observe. 15. And Manoah said unto the angel of the Lord, I pray thee, let us detain thee until we shall have made ready a kid for thee. And the angel of the Lord said unto Manoah, Though thou detain me, I will not eat of thy bread. And if thou wilt offer a burnt offering, thou must offer it unto the Lord. For Manoah knew not that he an angel of the Lord. And Manoah said unto the angel of the Lord, What thy name, that when thy sayings come to pass, we may do thee honor. So Manoah basically, in some senses, wants to, or just to use his own words, he wants to honor the man, honor the angel. Okay. "18. And the angel of the Lord said unto him, Why askest thou thus after my name, seeing it secret?" Okay. Now, when you read through this, for those of you that have read more of the Bible and are more fluent with the Bible, so many things should pop up and come back to your remembrance. Okay. I've mentioned one similar scenario, which is Abraham and Isaac and Sarah. Okay, that's one scenario. Another scenario is Jacob. Okay, when he wrestled with God, basically. Okay, in Genesis 2. That's another scenario which should stand out. And there's different parts of this whole encounter which are similar in one shape or form to different events we've seen already, and some that will come to pass later on as well. But it's always good for you to understand and see these similarities about what's going on. What happened in one place that happened in another place? What didn't happen in one place that didn't happen in another place? And Lot is another scenario as well. Okay, so but there's a lot of similarities in a sense they see there's a visitor that comes, okay? There's generally some sort of offering or some sort of meal that is made. How is the meal received? How easily is the meal received, etc. What happens after the meal? All of these different things are things you should be looking at, taking all these different events and lining them up and looking at and saying, okay, where are the differences, where are the similarities, etc. Okay, what did the person say? What did the people say? Okay, and stuff like that. These are the things you should kind of look at and conclude. 19. So Manoah took a kid with a meat offering and offered upon a rock unto the Lord, and did wondrously. And Manoah and his wife looked on. For it came to pass, when the flame went up toward heaven from off the altar, that the angel of the Lord ascended in the flame of the altar. And Manoah and his wife looked on, and fell on their faces to the ground. 21. But the angel of the Lord did no more appear to Manoah and to his wife. Then Manoah knew that he an angel of the Lord. And Manoah said unto his wife, We shall surely die, because we have seen God. But his wife said unto him, If the Lord were pleased to kill us, he would not have received a burnt offering and a meat offering at our hands. Neither would he have shewed us all these, nor would as at this time have told us as these. So he sees these events. He sees the angel go up in the fire of the offering, and he basically says, look, God's going to kill us because we've seen God. And his wife comes back with some logical statements which make quite a lot of sense. Hold on, Manoah, look, if God was going to kill us, why would he have allowed us to see these whole events? Why would he have told us that we're going to have a son, etc.? Basically is what she's saying to him, which all makes sense. 24. And the woman bare a son, and called his name Samson. And the child grew, and the Lord blessed him. And the Spirit of the Lord began to move him at times in the camp of Dan, between Zorah and Eshtaol. So that's the first piece of text we cover. We move on to the next piece. Okay. And Samson went down, verse 1, to Timnath, and saw a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines. And he came up and told his father and his mother, and said, I have seen a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines. Now therefore, get her for me to wife. So he wants to marry this Philistine woman. And look what his parents say. Then his father and his mother said unto him, Never a woman among the daughters of thy brethren, or among all my people, that thou goest to take a wife of the uncircumcised Philistines. And ultimately, let me just finish this up. And Samson said unto his father, Get her for me, for she pleaseth me well. 4. But his father and his mother knew not that it of the Lord, that he sought an occasion against the Philistines, for at that time the Philistines had dominion over Israel. So he tells his parents, look, there's this Philistine lady that he's interested in. He wants to marry her. Go and sort out a marriage between me and this woman. And his parents turn around and say, can't you marry someone, one of us basically, one of our tribe, okay? One of our tribe, or at least one of our country people, okay, an Israelite. And this gets into a whole nother scenario, which I'm not going to cover in this video, okay? But ultimately, the scripture tells us is that the reason he was interested, he wanted to marry this woman, was because it was so he could have an occasion, so it could cause some sort of potential incident between him and the Philistines. Because at this point in time, as we covered at the start of today's Bible text, they were captive, okay, in captivity 40 years with the Philistines, okay? So I'll just leave it at that point for this video's sake. Obviously, make sure you subscribe to the channel so when we discuss the video about marrying different nations and all this kind of stuff and what the Bible actually says on it. Okay? So let's keep going. 5. Then went Samson down and his father and his mother to Timnath, and came to the vineyards of Timnath, and behold, a young lion roared against him. And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and he rent him as he would have rent a kid, and nothing in his hand. But he told not his father or his mother what he had done. So he journeys down, a lion attacks him, or he gets into a fight with a lion, and he basically rips the lion apart, basically, as it would like a young lamb. But he doesn't tell his mum and dad. 7. And he went down and talked with the woman, and she pleased Samson well. And after a time he returned to take her, and he turned aside to see the carcass of the lion, and behold, a swarm of bees and honey in the carcass of the lion. Okay? So, first time he's going down, or the time he's going down, he gets into a fight with a lion, he kills the lion, rips it apart, goes to meet his wife-to-be, he is interested in her, goes away, comes back to see his wife, and he sees the dead lion is killed, and there's bees in the lion, and there's honey, etc. And look what it says, verse 9. And he took thereof in his hands, and went on eating, and came to his father and mother, and he gave them, and they did eat. But he told not them that he had taken the honey out of the carcass of the lion. Now, I read this for years, just thinking it was not story filler, but just part of the story that made Samson's story so elegant. And like I said, I'm going to make a separate video about Samson and his Nazarite vow, and why all of this stuff we're reading is not just information for the story to make it juicy. It does make it juicy, but there's a whole nother underlying factor under the surface with Samson. Well, not really under the surface because it's quite clear, but simmering in regards to Samson's life. So make sure you subscribe to the channel for when we make this video, because it's a really powerful and impactful video, which will help you give you more context about just what we're reading as well as we go through the Book of Judges, and how it relates to the whole text we've covered so far up to this point as well. Okay, especially with the whole Nazarite vow. 10. So his father went down unto the woman, and Samson made there a feast, for so used the young men to do. Okay. And it came to pass, when they saw him, that they brought 30 companions to be with him. And Samson said unto them, I will now put forth a riddle unto you. If you can certainly declare it me within the 7 days of the feast, and find out, then I will give you 30 sheets and 30 change of garments. So he's challenging them, basically. But if you cannot declare me, then shall you give me 30 sheets and 30 change of garments. And they said unto him, put forth thy riddle, that we may hear it. Okay, so he's telling them to a riddle. If I win, then you give me these goods. If you win, then I'll give you the goods. Okay. And he said unto them, this is the riddle. Out of the eater came forth meat, and out of the strong came forth sweetness. And they could not in 3 days expound the riddle. And it came to pass on the 7th day that they said unto Samson's wife, entice thy husband, that he may declare unto us the riddle, lest we burn thee and thy father's house with fire. Have you called us to take that we have? No. Now, really interesting. So the scripture says on the 7th day, they turn around and say to his wife, you better get Samson to tell you that riddle so you can tell us. Because if you don't tell us that riddle, we're going to burn you and your family, basically. Look what it says. 16. And Samson's wife wept before him and said, thou dost but hate me, and lovest me not. Thou hast put forth a riddle unto the children of my people, and hast not told me. And he said unto her, behold, I have not told my father nor my mother, and shall I tell thee? Now this is a really funny statement, because for a lot of years when I read this, I always used to say, well, that makes sense. He's not going to tell his mom and dad, so why would he tell you? And one thing I will say is, this kind of really goes against what marriage was set up for, instituted for in the beginning. What does it say? It says, for this cause shall a man leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife, and those two shall become one flesh. Okay, so although what Samson's saying to her logically makes sense, from a proximity standpoint, he's known his mum and his dad his whole life. He's just met her, or in recent times. But ultimately, when you marry a woman, when a woman marries a man, okay, they two become one. Okay, so that relationship then supersedes. Okay, you leave your father and your mother, and you cleave to your wife. You cleave to each other, and you become one flesh. You know? So ideally, what he's saying really isn't the most accurate, based on how God instituted marriage in Genesis chapter 2:17. And she wept before him the 7 days while their feast lasted. And it came to pass on the 7th day that he told her, because she lay sore upon him, and she told the riddle to the children of her people. 18. And the men of the city said unto him on the 7th day before the sun went down, what sweeter than honey, and what stronger than a lion? And I'll stop there. Well, let me just read it anyway before I interject. And he said unto them, if ye had not ploughed with my heifer, ye had not found out my riddle. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he went down to Ashkelon and slew 30 men of them, so 30 Philistines, ironically, and took their spoil and gave change of garments unto them, which expounded the riddle. And his anger was kindled, and he went up to his father's house. But Samson's wife was to his companion, whom he had used as his friend. So there's a couple of things I want to unload here and unpack. So one of the things you should consider when you're reading it is the whole timeline of events. Okay, so the scripture talks about a 7-day feast. Okay, then it talks about how they couldn't unpack the riddle for 3 days, but then it talks about how they went to her and said, you better tell us the riddle. Later on, then the scripture says she pressed him for 7 days. Okay, now you can take this a couple different ways. It can mean that from the very first day that they couldn't get it, they were pressing her. They asked her, tell us the riddle. And she was pestering him for the full 7 days. But 3 days into it, they said, look, if you don't tell us, we're going to burn you and your household. It could mean that. Okay, that logically kind of makes sense. Another thing it could mean is that when it's saying she pestered him for 7 days, it means the rest of the 7 days. So the next 4 days, however you want to do the math. Okay, 3 days of trying, and then up until the 7 days she pestered him, etc. It could mean that too. Okay, another wild card it could be is that it's interjecting between the 7th day, meaning the Sabbath, which I don't really think it is that, and just it's talking about the 7th day meaning Sabbath, and obviously a 7-day feast. So there's crossover there. That's probably a wild card. I'm more inclined to believe it's one of the first two. Probably more so the second point, which is she pestered him for the rest of the 7 days, etc. Or either two I'm good with, but I generally probably 1 or 2 is fine with me. I'll just leave it like that anyway. Okay, so that's the one thing. Another thing is that she convinces him ultimately, tell me, oh, you don't love me, you hate me, you've done this, but you didn't give it to me. And ultimately gives it to her, and she tells them, and then they answer the riddle correctly. And at this point, he's like, look, if you didn't plow with my heifer, I'll ultimately, using that metaphorically as, if you didn't pester and conspire with his wife, you wouldn't have known. Okay, and it's pretty much safe to say we can take a really easy estimation that they wouldn't have got it. Okay, and the final thing I'll talk about here is, or 2 more things. He went to a different place in the Philistine area location, killed 30 Philistines ultimately, took their stuff and gave it to the people as payment for the riddle, which is really interesting in itself. And the final thing is that, I guess two more things, in fact. The final thing is that he obviously goes away and his wife is given to his companion, to one of his friends, okay, one of Samson's friends. That's really interesting. And the final thing I wanted to say that just came to mind as well is, a moment ago, is, isn't it interesting that his wife already is betraying him, okay? Now go back to what I said earlier on in regards to what Samson said. Samson said, look, I haven't told my mum and father. Why should I tell you? And at that point, I referenced back to Genesis, okay? That applies not only to him, that applies to her, okay? She didn't turn around and say, we're one flesh, okay? It's me and him. She said, well, I'm going to get the riddle out of him and tell these people, her country people, and they're going to now obviously get the riddle and say, and in her mind, ultimately save her and her family, okay? Whereas really what she should have done is told Samson and said, these people are trying to get the riddle out of me. They're saying they're going to burn me and my household, her and her household down, okay? Ideally, that's what she should have done. But there you go. And a final ice on the cake here is that she betrays him in that way, and Samson, to a certain degree, should take that to heart, should understand and see what's actually happening. Okay? What does it say as we go into the final chapter in today's text? But it came to pass, verse 1, 15 verse 1. But it came to pass within a while after, in the time of wheat harvest, that Samson visited his wife with a kid. And he said, I will go in to my wife into the chamber. But her father would not suffer him to go in. So a couple of different things that you should notice here. Samson, this woman is referred to as Samson's wife. Okay, this is the first reference we're seeing of Samson trying to have any sort of intercourse. Okay, that's one thing, but she's already categorized as his wife. Why? I can't get into that into this video. That's another video that we're going to talk about. Okay, and if you want to know why that is, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because we'll come out of that video at some point in the future and we'll answer that question. Okay, but he tries to go and have intercourse with his wife, and her father won't let him go in. Why? Because she's already been given to Samson's friend. 2. And her father said, I verily thought that thou hadst utterly hated her. Therefore I gave her to thy companion. Not her younger sister fairer than she? Take her, I pray thee, instead of her. So he's basically saying, look, because you were angry, I thought you didn't want her anymore. Even though Samson didn't say at the time he didn't want her. Okay, so technically she was still his wife. Okay, the father shouldn't have actually done that. And now his recourse is he's saying take his younger daughter, who's even more beautiful than the older one. Okay, but it's ultimately it's not about that right now. It's about you've gone against what you're supposed to do. Verse 3. And Samson said concerning them, now shall I be more blameless than the Philistines, though I do them a displeasure. And Samson went and caught 300 foxes, and took firebrands, and turned tail to tail, and put a firebrand in the midst between two tails. And when he had set the brands on fire, he let go into the standing corn of the Philistines, and burnt up both the shocks and also the standing corn with the vineyards olives. So something that's even coming to my mind right now as I'm reading this here for this video is, the scripture tells us it's around wheat harvest time, okay, which is some context. But not only that, is he goes and gets these foxes, catches them, and puts like some sort of fire mechanism. I guess similar, something not the same, but similar, kind of like a firework, something like that along those lines. Ultimately, to set a light in their cornfields, basically, to basically wipe away their harvest. Okay. Which is really significant. You're going to have to wait until the next harvest season to basically reproduce this, or you're going to have to go and buy it. So now they're at a huge loss. Okay, hit them in their pockets. Okay, that's what he did. 6. Then the Philistines said, who hath done this? And they answered, Samson. the son-in-law of the Timnite, because he had taken his wife and given her to his companion. And the Philistines came up and burnt her and her father with fire. Now, isn't this interesting? Okay. Something that, at least as I'm saying this now, I can't recall even thinking about this. Okay. But notice what I said earlier on in the video. Okay. What should she have done when they threatened her? I believe she should have told Samson. But she didn't tell Samson. What still happened to them in the end? The Philistines came and burnt her and her father's house. Okay. So that's a really neat little symmetrical part to the narrative there. That's really insightful. Okay. So some people will say, oh, but save your household, but ultimately your household still ended up in the same judgment. Okay. That's why it's not always smart for you to make the case and say, you know what, I know this was the wrong thing to do, but it brought this right scenario in this particular time. If only life was as simple as that. Okay? It's not always as simple as that, because we have situations like this that happen time and time again, where the thing you try to avoid through the wrong thing ends up happening anyway. Okay, that's why they say 2 wrongs don't make a right. But that's really interesting. 7. And Samson said unto them, though you have done this, yet will I be avenged of you, and after that I will cease. So he's saying, look, even though you've done this, you think that's some sort of retribution. I'm going to do one more thing, and then I'm going to stop. 8. And he smote them hip and thigh with a great slaughter, and he went down and dwelt in the top of the rock Etam. Then the Philistines went up and pitched in Judah, and spread themselves in Lehi. And the men of Judah said, why are ye come up against us? And they answered, to bind Samson are we come up, to do to him as he hath done to us. So he killed them, they want to now kill him. 11. Then 3,000 men of Judah went to the top of the rock Etam, and said to Samson, knowest thou not that the Philistines rulers over us? What this thou hast done unto us? And he said unto them, as they did unto me, so have I done unto them. So they're saying it's tit for tat, he's saying it's tit for tat. 12. And they said unto him, we are come down to bind thee, that we may deliver thee into the hand of the Philistines. And Samson said unto them, swear unto me that ye will not fall upon me yourselves. So he's basically, look, just promise me you won't kill me yourselves. And he's basically saying that because if they're going to kill him himself, obviously he's going to have to protect himself now and actually wipe them out, which is he doesn't want to do. But if they can submit to him and promise him and say, no, we ain't going to kill you, then he doesn't have to harm his own people, okay? These people from the tribe of Judah. 13. And they spake unto him, saying, no, but we will bind thee fast and deliver thee into their hand. But surely we will not kill thee. And they bound him with 2 new cords, and brought him up from the rock. When he came unto Lehi, the Philistines shouted against him, and the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and the cords that upon his arms became as flax that was burnt with fire, and his bands loosed from off his hands. So they've brought him up, basically imprisoned, and as he's come to the Philistines, they're shouting, the Spirit has come upon him, he's basically broken, it's basically turned into basically like it's melted, okay, it's broken out of him. 15. And he found a new jawbone of an ass, and put forth his hand and took it, and slew 1,000 men therewith. So he took a jawbone from a donkey basically, and with that jawbone, put it on his hand, and basically killed 1,000 Philistines. 16. And Samson said, with the jawbone of an ass, heaps upon heaps, with the jaw of an ass have I slain 1,000 men. And it came to pass, when he had made an end of speaking, that he cast away the jawbone out of his hand, and called that place Ramoth Lehi. And he was sore athirst, and called on the Lord, and said, thou hast given this great deliverance into the hand of thy servant, and now shall I die for thirst, and fall into the hand of the uncircumcised. So he has this great victory. He calls the place Ramoth Lehi, which is kind of like the place of the jawbone, the lifting up of the jawbone. Okay, and he turns around and says, I've had this great battle. Am I now going to die from thirst? Okay, now this is at least one scenario this brings up in my mind is when Hagar was carrying with child of Ishmael. Okay, and she ran away from Sarah because of the way Sarah started treating her when she fell pregnant. And I think it says the angel of the Lord visited her, and she basically says, look, there was no water. So she put, okay, actually this is after she's actually had the child, in fact. Okay, and Sarah sent her away. She wants her gone. So they're traveling now, they haven't got any water, and she basically goes and puts Ishmael somewhere away where she can't see him, and she goes somewhere else, and she says she doesn't want to see him die, basically. And in that particular situation, this is after God has actually made promises or given instruction to Hagar. He's made promises to Abraham about Ishmael, etc., which wouldn't have been fulfilled if Ishmael died. And the Lord miraculously brings water, basically, to sustain them in that particular scenario. Similar occurrence here. Okay, 19. But God clave an hollow place that in the jaw, and there came water thereout, and when he had drunk, his spirit came again, and he revived. Wherefore he called the name thereof En Hakori, which in Lehi unto this day. And he judged Israel in the days of the Philistines 20 years. So miraculously provides water for Samson, he revives, and he judges Israel in the days of the Philistines 20 years. So very much kind of half of that captivity, that period. So that wraps up today's Bible study video. All the best, hope it helps, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for new updates about videos covering various topics in the Bible, as well as our through the Bible study, currently in Judges. Thanks and take care, all the best, and don't forget to swim daily in the Word of God. Thanks and take care.